This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Yes, our own Judge Weinberger. After I had a
Not Weinberger.
Listen,
not like hamburger.
I don't have a girl in every port, and it's Weinberg, not Weinberger.
Anyway,
by the way, I got a text from our friend Ed Foreman. He says a colleague of his, a cousin in Canada, has to wait a year and a half for a cardiology exam. My God, I mean,
good luck with that.
Somebody better get rid of Trudeau. I mean, enough is enough.
That's why they only have 40 million people in that whole huge country.
Everybody else died?
Yeah.
But now, when we compare Canada to the United States, they have immigration laws. We have immigration laws. Some of our states, counties, and cities have decided we're not going to follow the federal standard. We're going to declare ourselves a sanctuary for illegals and what they call now the new term, asylum seekers. Use that as the excuse. And Judge Weinberg, to your credit, long before this was being discussed, you said bogus. It doesn't exist. Could you explain that now that Trump is on the verge of getting into the presidency with Tom Homan, and they basically are following your track?
Well, I'm flattered to say that. I doubt that, but I guess we were on the same page independently. It's very simple. Federal law trumps local state law. There is no such thing constitutionally as a sanctuary city, county, or state. Anyone who says that doesn't understand constitutional law. Under the Supremacy Clause of the United States Constitution, it's perfectly clear federal law trumps. Moreover, if you do not comply with the law and you actively block federal agents from enforcing the immigration laws, what you have is a violation of Title 18, United States Code, Section 2. You are aiding and abetting illegal acts. So when Tom Homan, who's been on WABC many times before he was nominated as one of our guests on and Katz and Cosby, it's perfectly clear he has a right to make a recommendation to the Justice Department. The Justice Department has a right to investigate, prosecute. If convicted, these people should be put in jail. Any city, county, or state that doesn't comply with federal immigration law should be defunded. These people should be removed from office. They have no right to do this. This issue has been solved, resolved, disposed of since the Civil War. Localities have no right to do this. So when they give you this nonsense, we're a locality, we're a city, it's a sanctuary city, it doesn't exist. You're violating the law.
So how does Governor Newsom, who's taken the lead on this, how does he do the kabuki dance, since he probably is aware of this, I think, as they all are?
Well, as this is the dividing line on that, Curtis, and that's a very good question. 18 U.S.C. Section 2 has been interpreted to say, if you don't cooperate, in other words, you just stand idly by and do nothing, they can't go after you. But if you do an affirmative act to block the enforcement of the laws, then they can go after you. And that's the bright line. So I'm sure Gavin is going to try to do something on the better side of the line. If not, he's going to find that this is not as nearly a good a place to be, that is a federal penitentiary, as some of the luxury restaurants he likes to frequent in California.
But like New York, they have told all their agencies you are not to cooperate with ICE, corrections, judicial police.
Okay.
That's existing in California. So now what happens, because Holman has said first Chicago, then California?
The answer is Tom Homan should go in, have a nationwide due diligence of those who declare themselves to be sanctuary cities, counties, and states, and go after them one by one. Instead of going after political enemies, go against the people who are destroying this country. These people are aiding and abetting the destruction of the United States. You can't have 20 million illegal migrants coming in here with all the problems, whether it's a health problem, whether they're criminals, whether they're cartel members, whether they're gang members, whatever they're doing, human trafficking, drug trafficking, violence. You just pick up the papers, you listen to WABC, you see the crimes that are going on of violent people who should not be here. People are dying. They're being raped. They're being maimed by people who should not be here. This has to come to an end.
All right, but Judge Weinberg, today, Team Trump, in preparation for sending to the presidency, says, we will deport families. What happens if the new baby was just born in the United States? My interpretation is it's an anchor baby. Immediately upon birth, it's a U.S. citizen.
And Trump has correctly said, we're the only country in the world that allows for that birthright. It's wrong. They have no right to do it. For decades and decades, people have been coming over here while pregnant just to have the ability to have their kid become a citizen. And because of that, a birthright, because they're born here, and then they bring in the whole family. Absolutely wrong. That has to be stopped.
How do you change that?
I think there's a very good argument. And I can't opine on this, that it's not constitutionally protected, that there's enough language in the Constitution to get around that it's not a constitutional right. I don't know the answer to that. That's going to be litigated if Trump goes forward with this. But if it's merely a right that was created on the illusion that was constitutional, and then you can change it by statute. Otherwise, you need a constitutional amendment. So the real question, Curtis, excellent point you're making. The way you change it is first you get into the business of deporting. Somebody's going to bring a lawsuit, the ACLU, and some other left-wing apologist group will go in there. They'll go after it. It'll be litigated. It'll go through the system. And then we'll see whether, in fact, it's a constitutional protection or not.
I would think that all the enemies of deportation, of which there are many, have already done their research. They're already preparing that probably on the 21st of January is going to be a slew of filings in federal court and local courts on this issue.
Well, they'll be premature on that date. It has to be when Trump does the policy.
So you mean upon his first deportation?
That's right. In other words, in anticipation, it would be too preliminary. But once he started implementing that program, yes, there will be lawsuits. There's no doubt you're right.
Can they withhold federal funds? See, because that seems to be the Damocles sword. You don't cooperate, we will restrict federal funds, which then that means your municipality cannot pay its bills.
I believe you can, but again, that's going to be subject to litigation. I think the right decision on that is, yes, you can. You're not complying with the federal laws. You're violating the Supremacy Clause. You're aiding and abetting illegal activity. You should be denied it. I agree with that. And our friend Governor Pataki said the same thing. He's been a champion of that position as well, and I think the governor is absolutely right about that.
Now, Judge, how do you feel about yesterday we had a big discussion on Hochul's plan to add $78 billion in taxes to the fossil fuel companies, to the gas companies. I mean, they're only going to pass along the price to the consumer.
Of course, John, that's exactly what to do. And by the way, that so-called Superfund legislation, it's worse than that. It's going to cost jobs. It's going to cause an energy crisis. Every time they go after fossil fuel companies or natural gas companies, what they're doing is they're making us energy dependent, not energy independent. If you want to have a strong country, you have to be energy independent. And all of these propagandists, all these Green New Deal ideologues are destroying our ability to be a strong country. We need to be energy independent. We cannot rely on our enemies. We can't go to Venezuela and ask them to give us their dirty oil rather than producing our clean oil. It's going to cost jobs, services, and when we don't have the grid to sustain it, electricity will not work. Electricity is dependent on having a fossil fuel base. And certainly solar and wind won't work. The sun's down. There's no wind. What are you going to do? People are going to die from excessive heat, excessive cold.
Well, they've taken nuclear away. They've taken it right off the boards. Any of the older plants are being decertified, and we're not building new nuclear power plants.
Well, the new technology is coming, and it's very prevalent in Ontario, is it, Judge?
Yes.
With the premier in Ontario being Doug Ford. And we're supposed to be going up there to observe it. And Alberta, he ran by the provincial premier there, Smith, 5.3 million barrels a day they're shipping to the United States, and they could ship double. So the way to go, I mean, all these people that saying, they're looking to blame everything. Guess what? Go woke, go broke.
Well, you have an in there with the Premier of Ontario. His brother, remember, his infamous brother who looked like John Candy,
I have no clue.
was the crackhead mayor of Toronto.
Right. I remember that. I remember that, Curtis.
I have no clue.
But you got to do me. I'm banned from Ontario, Toronto. They won't let me come to Toronto to help
You're
them
banned
with their...
from a lot of places.
That's right. They got a 5-page...
Well, listen, I can use my influence in Canada because, Curtis and John, I am the honorary mayor of Victoria, British Columbia.
Oh,
so with
cool.
all that vast power given to me as the honorary mayor of Victoria, British Columbia, I'll put in a letter for you.
Does that get me as far as having the key to the city in New York City?
John, I will go around the corner and have a key made up for you right now.
We ran out of time with Alan Dershowitz, Judge Weinberg, but there had been a drive-by shooting in Toronto against a girls' Jewish school 3 times, a drive-by shooting. In Montreal, they're burning down synagogues, and Trudeau Jr. is doing nothing. We don't even have that here in America.
Well, don't encourage that.
No, I'm not, but I'm just saying.
The short answer is the age-old crime and the viciousness of anti-Semitism is alive and well. It's coming out of our college campuses, from academia, from corporate America. The fact of the matter is, there's that famous theologian, the anti-Nazi theologian, who famously said, first they came for the Jews, then they came for the communists, then they came for the trade unionists, and then they came for me, and there was nobody left to defend me. The fact of the matter is, once you unleash this wave of hatred against any particular group, civilization will die.
Thank you, Judge Weinberg.
Over the last 75 years, over 10,000 chemicals have been introduced to our food supply. Yet the EU only allows 300 food additives. But at Thrive Market, we bring our members the highest quality brands and restrict more than 1,000 ingredients found at conventional grocery stores. Making the switch is easy with our Healthy Swaps scanner, which finds better versions of all your favorite pantry, snacking, and home essentials without the added junk, dyes, and fillers. Plus, it's all delivered straight to your door. So if you're looking to shop at a grocery store that actually cares about your health, go to thrivemarket.com/podcast and you'll get 30% off your first order and a free gift.